Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports. These are our top 5 reasons the Big 12 is so tough to win. Spent days talking to Big 12 coaches and players. I hope you've seen all those interviews. And if you haven't, what's the problem, man? We did this for you. You think I get enjoyment out of meeting successful people? I do. But still, it's selfish of you to just sit here and watch this channel to your willy-nilly, we're just here to please you. We're not people with hopes and dreams and emotions and feelings. Anyways, number 5, quarterback depth. I couldn't pick a quarterback that I really wanted to showcase here, so I picked Shane Falco from the early 2000s movie The Replacement, starring Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman. Anyways, as you can see, I'm in a jovial mood today. But quarterback depth. When you look up and down this league, there's really only 2 or 3 spots that are unsettled right now, and UCF is the one that's completely unsettled. BYU's unsettled, but they didn't think it was going to be unsettled. And then the rest of the league kind of knows who their guy's going to be. It's pretty impressive that you can go through the whole list and know who your guy's going to be and have multiple year starters. Even for a team that doesn't have high hopes, Noah Fafita, multiple year starter at Arizona. Rocco Beck going into his 3rd year as a starter. Connor Wegman at Houston, he was a starter at A&M before he got injured and then the system didn't fit him. So you've got guys with tons of starting experience. Caden Salter, 1st year starting in the league, but 3rd year as a full-time starter after 2 great seasons at Liberty. And that's not even getting into the upper echelon of the league, which I did with Rocco Beck a little bit, like the Sawyer Robertsons and Avery Johnsons of the world that live out there. So week after week, you're going to get a team with a good quarterback. In a lot of conferences, sometimes you will get maybe a little bit of a break with a bus driver. There's not really many bus drivers in the Big 12 right now. It is the deepest quarterback league as we begin the season. Now, will the SEC and Big 10 have superstar young players that emerge this year? Yes, that's how college football works. But as the season starts right now, week after week, you're probably getting a good QB. You're also getting experienced head coaches week in and week out, guys who've been with their programs for a while or whose programs have been kind of implemented. Look, this year there's 2 new coaches in the Big 12. Scott Frost, who was at UCF before, and Rich Rodriguez, who was at West Virginia before. And he's come and gone throughout his life as a player and a coach at West Virginia, and he seems ready to hit the ground running. As a matter of fact, the reason I picked him for this example is he's got a quarterback, Nico Marchiol, who will be in his 1st year as a full-time starter, but not a first-time starter because he had to start over the years for Garrett Green. So even he steps into a quarterback situation that's at least got a lead off of first base, so to speak. And the head coach consistency in the league, top to bottom, whether you're talking about recent upstarts like Deion Sanders or longtime people like Mike Gundy, even coming off a bad year. You don't want to face Mike Gundy every week. You don't want to face Kyle Whittingham every week. Kalani Sitake's been at BYU for a long time. Sonny Dykes is well into his tenure now at TCU, even though it doesn't seem that long. It's 4 or 5 years now. Dave Aranda's been at Baylor since 2020. The coaches have been in their spots for a while. Chris Kleiman's been at Kansas State for a while now, and that's good for the conference. Number 3. There's no alphas yet. Now, while that might be bad for the conference when it comes to the college football playoff as a whole, everybody's about the same year in and year out. Across the board. There's nobody that just has so much loaded talent. And look, we'll see what happens with Texas Tech in the way that they attacked recruiting on all fronts this year. But even still, I would say that Baron Morton, when it comes to listing the top quarterbacks in the league, kind of falls in the middle. Now, that's not a bad thing because, like I said, most of the quarterbacks in this league are good, but is he good enough to get them over the top with what they've added? All those things, but there's no true alpha dog that can just kind of walk into a room and steal a recruit like Texas and Oklahoma used to do And look, that's through good Texas seasons, bad Texas seasons, good Oklahoma seasons, bad Oklahoma seasons. If you were recruiting a kid and they came in and decided they wanted him, usually they got him. Number 2, schematic differences. This is something we heard from coach after coach after coach, that every week, particularly on defense, everybody's got a different look. In other leagues, it's kind of the same. Moreover, week after week. Kenny Dillingham said that when he was in the SEC, their thing is the systems are the same because they've all kind of come out of the same system, and they just attack you with ridiculously highly recruited athletes. And that's very effective, clearly. But the systems are all pretty much the same across the board. But in the Big 12, you can, walk into Dave Aranda's defense or Matt Campbell's defense or somebody else, and there's a lot of innovation there. It's the same on offense. This used to be a grip it and rip it, wide open offense league. Well, that's not really how it is team to team now. Yep, Texas Tech will do that. Arizona State kind of has their own thing with Kenny Dillingham. Jake Spavital's offense at Baylor, spread concepts, but I wouldn't say it's grip it and rip it to the Bryles days. Iowa State's got a very, running game oriented offense, more so than widen it up in the past. So you can go through every single team and there's differences. The Bryles offense still exists in the Big 12 because it's at TCU. But week to week, you're getting schematic differences on both sides of the ball, diversity that you don't see in the other leagues. And number 1, the financial investment is in overdrive for all 16 teams. Absolutely in overdrive. And here's the other thing about that. Right now, it appears that all 16 Big 12 teams are investing to at least a similar level. Now, maybe nobody's catching Texas Tech this year, but everybody's trying to, and everybody kind of knows what the ball game is and they know what their resources are. As where sometimes in leagues you have teams that for a long time, in spite of being in some really great leagues and making a ton of money on their TV deals and all these great things, just don't care as much about football as the other teams do. Look, the ACC's problem for years was that they put basketball over football, and that allowed Clemson and Florida State, who both care way more about football than they do basketball, even on a great year like Clemson had 2 years ago. They care a ton, but they don't care that much when it comes to football. They will sacrifice basketball for football every step of the way. Well, that was not the case in the league, so you had some teams that week in and week out just didn't care as much as you did. Not the players, not the coaches, but the administration didn't fund it to the same level. Well, now everybody's kind of funded at the same level. Everybody cares equally. Brett Yormark has them in lockstep when it comes to that, about improving the future of the league. So their money's making more money now, and everybody's pushing each other right at about the same level. Yes, people will spike up like Tech and spend more money in a given season. And people may not, have as much, or the players aren't there, but you'll see it won't be like this in the Big 12 program to program. It'll be more like this all the way around. And I hope you enjoyed that hand gesture that looked like I was a cat. Meow. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. Hope you have a good weekend. We've got 2 polls for you from Andrew Belade. Smokey, give the people what they want.